I think it's time to build something, and something useful. Also, apparently it's, well, I mean, it's not Thanksgiving yet, but we've got the little Christmas tree there, and the alligators guarding it. Last month, I had a thought. I was doing a live stream on the other channel randomly, and I got to thinking, I've got all these random power chair bases, and I put random stuff on them. Like, there you can see this Pulse 6 has a generator mounted on it, because those generators are stupid heavy, and there's no way I can move it around on my own, even with a wheel kit. I got to thinking, when I do live streams on, well, on the other channel and someone's on the main channel, I just stick a computer on this little cart here. But that cart is also a workbench that I use, and it would be nice to have a little mobile platform to put the computer on, the couple of cameras, microphone, all that good stuff, and have it be sort of portable so I can move it out of the way. I've recently been trying to make everything modular so I can move it around, because obviously I've got a lot of stuff here. Well, for example, this 3D printing cart over here. I've got both of my machines on there with the computer that runs it, and the thing's got wheels underneath it. Even has a power strip on the back, so when I'm not using it, I can just stick it back in the other bedroom and it's stored nice out of the way. I was 3D printing some stuff for a friend, by the way. He's making some LED lights. I needed a little box to house the boards in. By the way, review bra. Anybody know who this guy is?
When I bit into that, I was like, wow, this is flavorful. It's more flavorful than I remembered it.
He's reviewing Little Caesars. Which brings us back out here to the garage. Remember that remote control wheelchair that I built? This thing right here? It was essentially a test platform for the first remote control wheelchair. I'm testing a couple different versions, and I'm moving on to version 2 now that actually uses a Raspberry Pi, but I'm gonna do that with a different chair. So we're basically done with this thing now. Oh yeah, and the last version with the Arduino, it took some highly custom modification to the joystick. I had to cut it apart and drill some holes and run some wires out. It does technically work, but I want something that's more plug and play. So we're gonna move on to version 2 with a different chair. Now I've been cleaning the garage, trying to make more space in here, and I was like, okay, I've got this little scooter chair. What do I do with it? Well, I could sell it, but then I remember it has some pretty serious problems. And even if I sold that thing for 75 bucks, someone would get stuck in it. So there's no way I'm going to send that out and sell it to someone, or even give it away or do anything. Well, I was streaming again tonight, and someone reminded me, oh hey, are you gonna build that mobile live streaming station? The proverbial light bulb appeared over my head, and I was like, oh, yes, we're gonna use this thing. So right now, what I'm gonna do is take the control system back off of it that we swapped on here. We've got an MK6i control system that I put on there just for testing purposes. But this chair uses the dynamic control system, which is technically the same as MK6 or whatever, but different setup. It uses one of these joysticks. And no, I'm not holding it upside down. That's how it goes on the chair. The button and the speed controller's on the bottom and the joystick's on the top. So I'm gonna swap these stock electronics back on there because they work the best with these motors. And then we're gonna rip the seat off this thing and work on building a platform. And I think I'm gonna get fancy. I've got an old Quantum power chair base back here. It was off of True Balance 1 seating, I believe, but it's height adjustable. So I'm gonna see if I can integrate that onto this platform. And basically I'm gonna get some plywood, cut out a desk, put it on here, and see if we can make the height adjustable. It might be a little too much work to make the height adjustment thing. So worst case scenario, we're just gonna make a desk out of it. And basically have a spot for the computer and a few other things. So yeah, for now, I'm gonna swap the electronics back on here, get it working stock like how it was before, and we'll go from there. Okay, next up, we're gonna remove the seat back from this thing. And the way these work, inside the bottom of this van seat is a piece of plywood. And these bolts right here, which you probably can't see, these bolts here basically go into some fasteners that are on the other side of that piece of plywood. So for right now, we are just going to remove these screws on each side here and slip the backrest off of this. Then, I think if we just tilt this a little bit, There we go. And the thing comes right off. There we go, one backrest. And this thing, I don't know if you can tell, has been chewed on by like parakeets or ferrets or something. I'm pretty sure whoever owned this had birds, because the top of every surface has like claw marks on it. Now, I grew up with large exotic birds running all over the house I lived in, so I recognize this kind of damage. I don't think it's cats, because that would result in more like tearing, but these just look exactly like claws from like parakeets or like a mitred conure or a macaw or something like that. So anyways, we're gonna get rid of this, which weighs almost nothing. And what we're left with here is this one side, which has the spring-loaded adjustment lever. Probably shouldn't, okay. Yeah, so that's your adjustment lever. There's our joystick cable. And this side, I believe, just kind of freewheels. Oh, I guess that's also spring-loaded. It looks like this is integrated with what is holding the seat on. So it looks like the seat support mount hooks onto the plywood, and then on the edge of that plywood is where this goes. So actually, maybe since this fabric is already trashed, maybe we could just rip the upholstery off. Well, anyways, to get these off, all I have to do is like push down on this lever. Let me turn it here a little bit. Just push down on this lever and sort of push up on the whole thing. Like that. And then let's set this over here. Yeah, I think, oh yeah, we've already got a ton of mounting holes here. All right, cool. I'm just gonna, actually, I'm gonna grab the impact driver because that's a lot of screws to take off. And we're gonna rip all this off, take the upholstery off, and then we should have a nice piece of plywood we can use to mount things with. Actually, now that I'm looking at this thing might actually be a good mount to hang on to for another shelf on this desk. I think that might be a handy thing. We're gonna keep this. I don't really care what's under here, so we're just gonna do this sort of thing. Looks like it's all glued on too. Yeah. This is gonna take some work. I'll be back. Okay, we got lucky here. They didn't glue everything on the top down, they just glued the edges. So I was envisioning having to completely try and separate everything on this, but yeah. Yeah, look at that. We got all of these little T-nuts in here, or whatever you call those things. Wow. I might be harvesting some of these for future projects. I'm sure they're not that expensive, but yeah. Alright, well, I'm going to get this cleaned up a little bit, kind of mock up a few things in my head, maybe stick it back on the chair and see kind of what we're looking at here. And then I'll be back when I come up with a design. I don't think we're going to need to use that adjustable height thing. I think as long as I get it at the right height, we can use this mechanism here, which might be super handy. So you'll find out in a minute. All right, I think we've reached a stopping point for today. This is where we're at so far. And I kind of forgot. These things do not come back out. It looks like they're not even in there, but I took this off, put a screw in there, and pounded on it with a mallet, and it didn't budge. So, yeah, something. I was figuring if we mount this sort of centrally, we could put another piece of wood over the top here. I'm going to think about this and figure out how I want to do it. The other thing is, too, my toes can't really get underneath it because it's not a desk. So my thought was maybe getting some drawer sliders and mounting those on there and having the desk slide out. But anyways, I think I'm going to take a look at the hardware store and see what they have. I raised the seat post up as high as it'll go, but we've got a pretty good starting point here, I believe. I'm going to think on it for the night, and we'll pick it up again in the morning. I just discovered our alligator friend is missing an eye. That's weird. I didn't notice that before. Whatever. We'll keep the Christmas tree company. It's the next day. So I've got kind of an idea in my head what I want to do with this thing. We've got the old seat mounts here, and I think I'm going to use these as spacers to lift the thing up. I do probably want to make it, I don't know, about this high or so. And also, I got, where did I put them? Some of these soft close drawer pull rail thingies. And I think what the plan is going to be is using some of these 2x4 offcuts to space up a little bit. Then we're going to cut this thing in half, maybe in thirds. And we're going to put a platform maybe about yay high. Then we're going to use some more of the 2x4s to space up those drawer pulls and have yet another section of this above it that's a little bit smaller. And then that's where the computer is going to sit, and it can slide in and out. That way I can kind of like pull it over my lap. And I think what I want to do is have the rest of it static and not move. Like that's where I'll put maybe the power strip, camera mount, something like that. And potentially, depending on how zesty I'm feeling, I may do sort of an L-shaped raised section above all of that. I'm just going to screw around with this, probably build most of it, and then I'll check back in with you guys. Because at this point, the way I build things, I don't necessarily plan out in advance. I kind of get an idea in my head, and then I just start kind of assembling stuff and cutting and whatever. But I usually wind up changing my mind about every 5 minutes. So anyways, I'll show you when I make some real progress, and yeah, this should be cool. Okay, quick update here. Part of my process for this. I've got the piece cut down to the width that I want, and we've got some 2x4s there attached to the top of what used to be the seat brackets. And what I'm discovering is this is a little bit too wide. I measured it, it's a full 24 inches, and that's actually how wide this chair is right here. But now that I see it on here compared to the power base, well here, let me back up a little bit. It's a lot wider than it needs to be. And I think the way I'm going to set this up is I'm going to be sitting on the side of it here. So what we're going to do, I sort of overhung these 2x4s pretty much as wide as I could get, because I wasn't sure how I was going to be attaching the plywood, and I wanted to give myself enough room there. So this overhang here is about good. So I think what we're going to do is line this thing up right about there, and then we're going to rip a section, maybe about this wide off of here. And then that's going to leave me a piece that I can use for the upper shelf. I also might trim the length down a little bit. Right now, we got the foot plates on here still. I am going to take those off. But we're about proper length for the chair. Oh, and actually one thing I was considering, because I'm going to put the drive controls on the end of this thing, so I'm going to have the joystick either hanging off the front or the back. And I was thinking, it might be cool to have the joystick hanging off the front, because these front casters stick out wider, and that would give more room for my toes to be in here. Because if I'm pushing it around from the back, these are not nearly as wide, and I would have to be further. I'd have to be further away from the chair and reach forward a little bit more. So the only catch with that is going up ramps and stuff. If you're going rear casters first with these scooter chairs, they don't have any suspension flex, so they might get stuck. So we'll have to figure that out. But yeah, I think for now, yeah, well, look at this. Yeah, that's way too wide. All right, we're going to chop this thing way down, and then I'll show you the progress in a bit. All right, we have made some progress. And there's a couple of things I need to change. So we've got everything chopped down now. It's a more manageable size. We've got our drawer slides on here. This bottom part is spaced up with 2x4s, and we've got the main desk, and we've got a couple more 2x4s. Then the drawer slides, and then this is the shelf that the computer goes on. And this slides out, pretty far. Actually, that's kind of cool. That hangs out pretty far. Oh, also, this has the, I might need to put a handle on here. It's got the soft close with the springs. It's actually pretty hard to pull out of there. There we go. But if you get it to about here, okay, well, it's getting stuck for some reason. There we go. It closes the rest of the way. So we've got a tiny bit of storage down here for, I don't know, maybe a battery or something like that. But this seat back support mechanism was not designed for all this weight, obviously. So as you can see, the whole thing is tilting down like this. And even the clutch on it, again, made for a seat back, so not the strongest thing in the world. I think what I'm gonna have to do is add like a 2x4 support right here and probably lock this thing in place, because there's no reason I'm ever gonna need to tilt this table. So yeah, it works as a good spacer though. It saves some hardware, make it look a little bit cleaner, I guess, as opposed to just having a whole bunch of lumber. But yeah, we're definitely getting there. And I think what I'm gonna try and do now is put another shelf up here, maybe about yay high. So I got room to put stuff underneath, and then room up a little bit higher to get another camera that's higher off the table. Because there's nothing worse when you're trying to stream or video conference and your view is like this. Nobody wants to see up your nose. Fast forward a few hours, I think we are very close to a final result. So here we have some sort of desk-looking thing and a power chair base. So I've got this little shelf up top here, and the laptop goes right here, and this thing slides out, which actually I have not tested it yet. Let's see, it should probably make sure it fits at this point. Okay, so right now my toes are up against the chair. Haha, yeah, look at that. That is magnificent. Cool. So that's the thing, is I don't always need to be able to reach the computer. I just want to be able to pull the thing out, get it set up, change settings or whatever, and then we can push it back in. And then we've got our cameras and microphones and stuff up here. Yeah, this is great. I think I'm gonna have to put a little drawer pull down here. I feel like I've got some of those, because the soft close springs require quite a bit of force. But yeah, this is outstanding. These drawer pulls are not... Actually, I'm sure there's a weight rating in the manual, but the laptop doesn't weigh a whole lot, so I think we should be good. All right, so next, we just need to mount the joystick and get the actual wheelchair electronics going, which actually I think all I have to do is plug it in. I think everything else is already wired up. Yeah, we're good. Sweet. It's a neutral right now, so that's why it's flashing and stuff, but cool. So the other thing with this joystick is designed to be mounted like this, and the cord comes out the bottom. Now, I'm going to be having this sort of hanging off the back of this whole contraption, and having the cord sticking off the back, it'll be like the most rearward thing, and I'll have to like sort of turn it back in. But I do have a programmer for this thing, so I think what I might do is mount the thing backwards so it's like this. So the joystick is furthest back, and then I can just reverse the left and right and forward and back. I think that's going to be the easier way to do it. Because, yeah, dealing with this wire sticking out, it's gonna... I mean, these wires on any power chair are really prone to breaking if you're flexing them pretty hard, but I'd rather not have that sticking out to bump into things, so... Although it would be nice to be able to rest your hand on it, I think this is gonna be a better way to go. So yeah, I'm gonna figure out a way to mount this. Looks like we've got these two screws here. Actually, an easy way might be to just get a piece of conduit, pound it flat, drill holes, and then mount it with some clamps on the bottom of this. But anyways, I'm gonna figure that part out now, and I'll be back. Oh, and one other thing I need to figure out. This swivel base down here, I've gotten the actual bolt that holds the post on nice and solid, but this mechanism up here that normally allows the seat to swivel has a bit of play. Well, the chair's in neutral, so it's moving a little bit, but see, we've got a little bit of wobble there. It'd be nice not to have that. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to attach that a little bit better. I suppose I could just run a bead of weld on there, or maybe I can jam something in or run a hose clamp around it. I don't know, we'll figure something out, but yeah, we're very, very close. We're coming right along here. This thing is, well, I'd venture to say very close to done. Still need to clean up a bunch of stuff. We've got sawdust all over the place and some of this foam left over. But I got an old Quantum swing away mount. So we've got our joystick mounted on here now. And the way I did that was I just drilled a couple holes through the tube and then countersunk some bolts right through the top of this thing. So got a nice smooth surface here. But what it's time for now is to program this thing. This joystick, while it doesn't look like it, is mounted backwards. So let's get our Lynx access key hooked up here. Turn this thing on. And then you have to use an iPhone app for this thing. It takes a minute for it to load. Alright, there we go. Now our light's green. Wonder if it moves. Ooh, it does. Oh, and I forgot, is tuned up pretty spicy, so we're going to have to fix that. Let's see here. Search for access keys, drive functions. Let's see here. I know there is a way to reverse things. Oh, you know what? We can probably set this thing back to default. I think April 12th. I feel like I saved the stock profile on this. So let's go ahead and load this back on the chair. Right to chair. It even power cycles automatically. Yeah, that looks a little better. Okay, here we go. I think I found it. Right invert and left invert. That's weird. Why is right yes and left no? Let's swap, I guess. Right to chair. Not exactly sure what that did. I guess we'll find out here in a minute. Okay. Hey. It worked. Haha, excellent. Okay, so the swap setting is what we wanted. Now, one interesting note that I have discovered when driving two power chairs at once, like I use my right hand to drive my chair and my left hand to drive another one. I've got the barbecue, and then I've got this generator mounted on a chair here. I found that swapping left for right and right for left, for whatever reason in my mind, is more intuitive to steer the thing. So I'm probably going to do that on this as well. But for right now, I'm going to try running it around a little bit and see how easy it is. Alright, so I got this thing tuned up pretty well now. I did notice one thing, however. Running the joystick in the swap mode means that forward and reverse in the programming software are a little bit screwy. So reverse is forward and forward is reverse. So it took me a minute or two to figure that out, because I was trying to turn down the deceleration because when I was going forward and went to stop, it would just lurch to a stop, like enough to make anything that wasn't bolted down try and fly off. Now I am going to try and attach everything that I put on here, or at least have little lips so the laptop doesn't slide off and the cameras and stuff like that. But yeah, I think for now at least, it seems to work. And seeing as how we don't have the full weight of a person in this thing, there wasn't a reason for it to be, you know, tuned up for performance or anything like that. But yeah, it seems to work pretty good. So yeah, I'm gonna work on getting the laptop and the cameras and the other stuff put on here, and we'll see how it looks in a little bit. Yet another progress update. So I've been working on some of the wiring and stuff as far as like cable management, because with a computer on here that slides in and out, attaching cords and things are a little bit tricky, and I don't want them just like flying all over the place. So for the main ones, I've got the power cable for the laptop and then a USB hub. And what I've done is basically attach the USB hub. I drilled a couple holes here and ran some zip ties through. And then zip tie comes underneath, those cords wrap around here, and then they go over this way to where they are pinned down here. So as you slide this thing back and forth, those cords basically slide back and forth and they're not going to get caught on anything. So I'm probably going to be hooking up other things to this as well. But I figure for the main stuff, I at least want to get these cables attached, and that way I can just easily unplug the computer and take that and run off with it. But for the few things that I know will be permanently attached to this, like this microphone up here, by the way, that's a boundary microphone. It's good for 35 feet directly in front of it at like a 25-degree angle. So I just set that thing up there. I think it should be a good spot for it. And then down on the bottom here, I've got an extension cord. I still need to put a hook here so I can hang this cord. but it's one of the extension cords that has 3 outlets on the end of it. So we've got the laptop power supply, and then this is the USB hub power supply. Because these computers, putting out a lot of power over USB is not necessarily something they're good at. So I'm just basically getting all the cables attached, drilled some little holes here and loosely put some zip ties in so we can run the cable and still kind of move it around. That way if I decide I need to move this thing somewhere else, I can. This uses USB Mini B, so no big deal there. That's the other thing too with setting up something like this, is this power adapter for the laptop is now semi-permanently attached to this cart. Now I got a bunch of power adapters for this thing. Goodwill has them usually for pretty cheap. Actually, this one still has a sticker on it. Yeah, it was $10, but I'm pretty sure I didn't pay that because I usually only buy them. I usually only buy them when they're 50% off. So that was either $5 or $10, I can't remember which. But I've got a whole stack of those things. So yeah, we're coming right along. The thing is pretty much usable in its current state. All I have to do is come up here, and I could sit here kind of crooked like this, or I could basically nose straight up to the thing, pull the desk out, got our laptop here, do all my stuff, get the stream going, and then push it back here, and there the computer can just sit, and I'm free to run around and do whatever. And the nice thing about that microphone is, even though I'm like, what, 5 feet from it right now, it can hear me just fine. So I think next, I usually always have a second camera with this setup. I'm going to make some sort of mount for that thing. It's just a little random Logitech webcam that I have. I actually use it on a couple different machines, so I'm going to make the mount for it like removable. I think what I'm probably going to do, I've got a selfie stick that this thing can attach to, and I think I'm going to cut a piece of PVC pipe and put it on that so I can slide it down in there. That way I can pick it up and move it around and do whatever too. So anyways, once again, it's nice to have distractions and work on stuff like this. I think all the lumber and the drawer slides and everything were like maybe $35. So it's not really too expensive. Obviously you don't count the price of the power chair, which I think in my case didn't cost anything. But yeah, and again, in case you missed it earlier, this chair is broken. One of the motors on it is very screwy, and the hubs on both sides are very worn out. I sat in that chair once and tried to run around in it, and it felt like one of the hubs was going to round out. And also, one of the motors makes a very strange noise. So I figure instead of like throwing it away, or I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable selling it online, even giving it away, because you know someone's going to get stuck in the thing. Figure I might as well get some use out of it. And for me, this is something that I do a lot. So typically when I'm going to be live streaming with this setup is going to be on the other channel. But now that I've got everything all squared away, I should be able to stream on either channel that way. Normally the computer inside the house with all of the lighting and the like boom microphone and all that stuff is where I do most of the stuff, but I'm babbling. I'm going to keep screwing around with this and I'll update you in a little bit. Oh, also, I'm pretty sure I'm publishing this on Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving if that's what happens. And if I'm not publishing it before then, happy Thanksgiving tomorrow or something. But yeah, I'll be back. By the way, I did figure out how to get rid of the wobble in this table. What I'm gonna do, I looked underneath there and tried to figure out a way to like add some bracketry or something. And what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a turnbuckle. First off, I'm gonna remove this foot plate, and we have the mount sticking out here. I'm gonna attach one end of the turnbuckle to this mount thing that sticks out here, and then I'm gonna drill a hole through the bottom of this piece of wood here. I'm basically just gonna connect from here down to there, and we're just gonna put some tension on the front of this. Yeah, basically we're just going to grab this whole thing, tilt it forward like this, put some load on it, and that should make it a lot more solid. Because right now, yeah, no thanks. I've got the thing powered with the cord reel that's on the ceiling. Now I could stick a power inverter on here so I can go truly cordless with this thing, but I don't know if there's necessarily a reason to do that, because the idea is just to kind of move it to where I'm going to use it, and then there's enough extension cord so I can move around a little bit, but I don't think there's a reason to go completely cordless. But we've got our computer connected here, you can see, there's me, and we've got our microphone set up, you can see our audio levels going up and down here. Got our other camera over there, so we can switch to that one. There we go. Second camera. Hello. But yeah, I think I'm going to do some more improvements to this. Like, I want to get sort of a holder here so I can put a tablet there. This computer doesn't appreciate having the YouTube Control Studio open in a web browser at the same time OBS is running. It will work, but the thing gets a little bit hot, and I prefer not to do that. Plus, having a tablet that I can set here and have chat and everything on it works out pretty good. So, anyways, my thought was originally to maybe cover the whole thing in that black speaker box carpeting. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that at this point. I mean, it looks fine enough. I am definitely going to be rounding out some of these corners, though, because this stuff can be pretty sharp. And I know what the kind of look I have. I'm going to be trying to move around this thing, and that corner of the plywood is going to catch me and remove a chunk of skin. So I will probably do something in that aspect, but I think for now you get the general idea. It's attached to a power chair base. It rolls around. We got it programmed. It's going to serve its function pretty well. I'm going to make some gradual improvements to it over time, but yeah, definitely usable right now. This camera, though, since I use it on other computers, I'm not going to cable manage it in there. And the idea with this is I can just grab this thing and, you know, show something real quick on the stream without sitting right in front of it. Then we can just put it right back in there. Or, you know, if I got somebody else here, I can point the camera towards them, and then they can be in shot as well. By the way, the googly eyes on this, see how this one's all messed up? This camera fell on the floor. This one's cracked and that one's all screwy. But the eyes saved the lens on this camera because it fell face down and it definitely would have cracked that glass. So there's a practical reason to put googly eyes on things. All right, well, there you go. I have a sense of accomplishment for building something. And hopefully it was interesting to watch. Happy Thanksgiving again, whether it's tomorrow or today. Probably today when I release this. I'm feeling kind of lazy. I don't think I'm going to edit the rest of this tonight. But yeah, catch you guys in a few days.